Okay. Well, welcome everybody. And welcome into this new springtime season in the Northern Hemisphere and autumn in the South, where Mia and Arno and Laura are. I also want to just take note of the fact that we have Eugen Pack and Marshall Bogelin in North America at the present time in Colorado. And they're joining us for the first time on this continent in a long, long time. And they're in Fort Collins with Robert Merriman and Carol Travis and Luann Summers, Suzanne Kaur. And previously, I know at least Bob Bile was there as well. So delighted to have you with us and to feel your presence in North America. Perhaps that might sound strange because we can be together by Zoom no matter where we are in the world. But I have found it does make a difference. I can actually feel a difference knowing that you're on this continent. It's a difference in the vibrational field extending from where you are to here. And it's delightful to feel that palpably. And it's such a joy for me to share this hour with Arno. All of us to share this hour with Arno. Speaking, he's a fine brother and I love him deeply and I trust him spiritually. I'm not going to speak about the Ukraine this morning or any of the disturbances, the wars in the earth. This is something climactic we feel of a sort. But I would actually refer everybody to the service that we shared with John Gray a week ago, where I feel there was a foundational spiritual attitude, approach, and focus provided for our unfoldment and consideration of the events in the earth, the events in Korea and in Russia in particular. Obviously, far more could be said and was said in that hour that John led us through, but there's plenty there to go to as a beautiful referral point, and we can go back to as a service 2 weeks before that to something that Sanford shared, which is equally foundational. And for this morning, I feel a deep attunement with what Robert Merriman brought on February 20th that we all shared. Spirit of the single eye. The single eye, awake, alert, observant and radiant in heaven. Observing what's going on in the earth, but keenly interested in what's taking place in the heaven. Especially the new aspects of the heaven that are emerging. Now, not just when Martin was around or Yolanda, but now. We obviously have plenty of referral points. on any aspect that comes up for consideration in heaven or on earth through the rich primary material that we have available from Yolanda and Martin. Eugen also has been giving services in Korea several times a month. And he has been speaking to the events in heaven and on earth that are our responsibility to enfold, encompass, and participate in. And I'm sure that's been occurring in other places as well. Through other angels who are paying attention to the things that are occurring in heaven and being reflected in the earth. Myself today, things have refined for me as we move towards this hour this morning to primarily have a feeling that I wish to share with you some words spoken by Martin. In a way, I'm not that much interested in my own words. They're important enough. But I don't participate, say, this morning because I want to hear myself speak, but because I feel a responsibility to participate actively, like all of you do, in coming forth in the venues that the Lord has provided, taking responsibility and speaking my piece, speaking my word, playing my part, and not just leaving it to somebody else. But I was thinking this morning that we are in the 13th 7-year cycle since this ministry was initiated. It's a 7-year water cycle. And we can feel, if we reflect back, we can feel and recognize that a new configuration of design has been emerging, particularly in this 13th 7-year cycle, the water cycle, which began in 2016. And we're in the 6th year of that cycle, so that's air. And if we think about 6, it relates to the coming forth of man to take responsibility. On the 6th day, man came forth to take responsibility for the affairs of heaven on earth. And we can feel what's been happening over these 6 years. And we can feel the reconfiguration of assemblies of angels being drawn together by love to play their particular parts in the emerging design of a new formation of the core of the archangelic body on earth. So this is an air year, new atmosphere in which a new man and a new woman, a new emergence of core design is appearing, and we're part of that. And I think what Martin has to say in this piece I'm going to read sets us up well for what's coming, what's here now and what's going to come in the days ahead. Leave us poised and ready to participate. Later on this year, this coming equinox, next equinox, we move into the 7th year of the 7-year cycle, and that's an earth vibration, right? We can feel something potentially present to solidify and begin to function on a firm foundation. Confirmed upon the earth. And then we move into the following year, a new 7-year cycle. An air vibration, where the atmosphere of this new emerging design of core. And I might remind you that was recently we read something by Martin. He said, while words may be spoken by one member of the body, if they are true words, they are spoken by the whole body. The body of the Son of God is the core. Those who compose the body are members of that core, so that includes all of us. These changes are working out through all of us. And it's setting the stage for something in heaven and on earth that we can be ready for. As the cycles move from air to earth in a 7-year cycle, and then from earth to fire, we need to be ready to represent the absolutely polarized identity of the archangel in the heaven, on earth, while things work out in the cycles of purification as it relates to man's world. Here's what Martin had to say in 1986. Give me a moment here. I want to read it off my teleprompter. He said, "Come near unto me. Come near unto me. All ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly of heart. And ye shall find rest unto your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." There was a man present in form who, through words of this nature, extended an invitation. Come unto me, unto the one who spoke the words. These words conveying the invitation were spoken by a particular individual who was present with those who heard the words spoken. And certainly these words do convey with authority a very specific invitation. However, the person who spoke the words is no longer present in form, to be drawn close to in response to what he said. Come near unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. That probably covers most of the population of the earth. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly of heart. I am not arrogant. I am not assuming that I know something when I don't. I do not arrogantly assume that I know anything very much. But if there is response to the invitation, ye shall find rest unto your souls, physically, mentally, emotionally, a relaxing, the beginning of quietness. When the arrogant mind lets go of its assumed ability to direct human affairs, it may become humble, come to rest, be quiet, shut up, and participate in this continuing process, which is known by reason of rest. This rest and relaxation of body, mind, and heart is required for a reason. Without it, whatever yoke is really there cannot be received, cannot be taken, and cannot be assumed in one's own living. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. A factual experience when the yoke is assumed. And the objective of this process is that the yoke might be assumed. All this was offered 20 centuries ago because there was someone there to offer it. And it is said of that one that he spoke with authority. And those who were there and heard him speak were quite aware of the fact of authority, even though many may not have agreed with what he said. But they were aware of the authority. The impact of that authority was present, and it had a very direct effect upon what we think of as history. Human beings were caused to move in various ways by reason of the authority that came to point in this man, who did not hesitate to say, "Come unto me." Me. He didn't say, "Come unto God," "Come unto Moses," or some other character of some other age. He was the one who was present, and he knew, on the basis of his authority, that the only way an invitation could be extended was in this fashion: "Come unto me." But the invitation only has meaning when there is someone present with the authority to extend it. This is something that is absolutely required. So there was one who did extend that invitation. But the only acceptance on the face of the earth at that time of that authority which he brought was in his own body, mind, and heart. So that was all he had to work with, really, in the form of a response, adequate response. And certainly he worked with that, his own body, mind, and heart. We recognize that only a very few people were in the vicinity of his presence. But everything depended on those very few people. Everything depended on so few. That was the only way it could work at that time. It can't be extended unless there is one present with authority to do so, who is capable of saying, "Take my yoke upon you and learn of me." Do that. There's nothing else that has any meaning unless you do that. So once again, there comes a point when the invitation to accept the yoke emerges into the awareness of mankind, because someone with authority is there to extend the invitation. In these times, that invitation was extended by one we have known as Yoronda. Some of you perhaps knew him personally, as I did. He said, "Come unto me." And to anyone who did draw close, there was no question. That was the authority. There may have been a little bit of wondering to start with, because that authority seemed so unbelievable that it would be here. But it came home to some, and eventually it came home to me. So that, interestingly enough, if you put store by figures, 7 years after I first met Yoronda, I became aware of my own commission. Not because he told me what my commission was, but because I knew it for myself. Having come close to him, I became aware. And then to continue the figures another 7 years, and Yoronda was no longer in form on earth, but I was. Yoronda had never said to me, if it should happen that I kick the bucket, then I appoint you. He never said that. But I knew it. He didn't have to say it. That is true of anyone who has accepted the invitation and taken the yoke. Thereafter, there is no question. But one may dither around. It's entirely up to oneself. What is it you accept? What is it you admit into your experience? It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of responsibility, one's own. In any case, there was one who spoke with authority within the range of my hearing, and within the range of the hearing of quite a number of others who are still around. And although there may have been a little dithering for the moment, because it seemed so unbelievably possible, well, finally it penetrated. And so it was my responsibility to offer the invitation. Come unto me. Don't come unto Jesus, who isn't there. How could you? Come unto me. And I assumed the responsibility. It may be that you find if you come unto me, you also come in unto the one who was present on earth in the form called Jesus. That may be the fact of the matter, and you discover that. I'm not going to tell you, but you discover for yourself. But first, come unto me. The yoke is easy and the burden is light when it is received. But it cannot be received until there is someone to say, come unto me, and provide what is necessary to let it happen and to let the yoke be received. But it will never happen unless the one who issues the invitation is accepted. And that acceptance comes because there is a recognition of authority. I think there is a general recognition that I speak with authority, even though this person and that person might not agree with what I say. There's a sensing of authority, nevertheless. And the lack of agreement relates to personal likes and dislikes, nothing to do with the truth. Because Yoronda extended the invitation in consequence of the invitation that the Master himself had extended, because it came to focus again in my presence, and because I subsequently extended exactly the same invitation, there are you and others who have been drawn. certainly not to become members of an organization. But the form which begins to appear has a name, a very good name, a fine name. But the name doesn't really tell anyone who it is that is present in that particular form. That has to be revealed by reason of what finds expression through the form. And we each are responsible for permitting this to occur in our own living as individuals. But it also occurs through the collective body as it takes form. I've had the responsibility and incidentally the authority to extend the invitation. Come unto me and learn of me. Take my yoke upon you, for I am meek and lowly in heart. The fact that one has authority doesn't make that one arrogant. Pretty humble. And so is this true of what finds expression through this whole body as it is drawn together. And it is the responsibility of this body to receive the authority into expression in exactly the same way as it was true of the individual called Jesus. I say these things to you because you know what I'm talking about, really, you do. And you have exactly the same responsibility, each one of you. Take the same yoke upon you and discover that it is easy and the burden is light. And there's nothing stopping anyone, anywhere, in any moment, at any time, really, from accepting the true yoke. But you can't accept the true yoke without your attitude being, come unto me. Not come unto Martin. But for each one, come unto me. Come unto me. Evidence of having accepted the yoke and therefore carrying the authority. In the collective sense, then, this invitation is extended. And now there begins to be a collective body, not just an individual body. The truth has been proven out in the individual body, but it hasn't been proven out yet collectively. So we're in the business of proving it out collectively. And this body this morning, and this body of many members which are present in other places, this body which is taking form, is all that's available. Let it take form. And it will do so when you say for yourself, come unto me, take my yoke upon you. And if you haven't taken it upon yourself, you certainly can't offer it to anybody else. So as this is done by all concerned, there is a body on earth capable of accommodating the spirit of truth and the spirit of love, finding blended union in the state of what has been called the Son of God, the only begotten Son. not 500,000, not 6, just one. Nothing else, just one. One body. And we are in the process by which this is being revealed and proven out. And there is authority then on earth, declared through the living of each individual who composes the spiritual body, which is in the process of being drawn into form. It's an ongoing process. At some point, it is drawn into form. There it is. Well, what is it going to do? It's going to extend the invitation. Come unto me, the spirit of welcome to those who will receive the yoke, which is being declared by one's own living. But no one will ever receive it or ever have the opportunity of learning unless there is this collective form through which this invitation may be extended. Come unto me. Take my yoke upon you. Because the fact is revealed that the yoke has been taken. And consequently, it is being offered. So we share the delightful responsibility of all of this now. Perhaps 20 to 30 years ago, some thought that this spiritual body had disappeared. Now we know, we see. We know from in our own heavenly consciousness and awareness of identity that this body is alive and present and being reconfigured in this particular cycle in which we are participating. And we're more clearly aware, all of us, of the great significance of the radiation work to which we're called from within the body of mankind. To extend the radiation of the word by which all things are made new. Each of us as individuals are an aspect of that living collective body. And we represent many aspects and many walks, stations of life, and a variety of states of consciousness and ranges of understanding in our radiation, our attunement with the word. And so when each of us comes forth with the word of invitation, come near unto me, it's the whole body that is extending that invitation. And the invitation is to come, yes, to me, personally speaking, but really to become aware of the body of the archangel, the consciousness of the archangel, and the spirit of the archangel. treasure in heaven, treasure in the radiant spirit, which is now in the process of recreating the substance of this world into new forms and new patterns. And where our treasure is, our heart is also. I know that's so for me. My treasure is in this archangelic spirit. Pure heart, transparent mind, archangelic body. And so we gather on the foundation of the Lord's accomplishment to this point, standing as one. And we release the word, come near unto me, come unto the archangel, come unto me, the angel, come on to me, the new man and the new woman. And at this point, come unto Arno. So Arno, please come forward, and we look forward to sharing what's in your heart, your treasure in heaven. Wherever you are, come forth now.
We are here, David. And I heard, as it were, the voice of a great multitude. And as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of mighty thundering, saying, Alleluia, the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Because when the word is true, it rings forth in the body. Is that not so, David, as you said? Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And he saith unto me, right blessed are they which are called unto the marriage of the supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these things are the true sayings of God. And so you extended an invitation through the one that you are. And the answer from me is, yes, I will come and I will draw near. And the yoke that is put upon my shoulders is that of light. And I accept it, and I will not take it off. I will not resist. I will not keep negotiating with the Lord. Because he has waited a long time. For me, he has waited a long time for you. to begin the process of allowing the magic of love to be received into the pattern of life. We come into the joy of the Lord because we accept the truth of those words. We accept the authority that came to focus through you, David, and we accept that authority because it is our authority. It is our focus. The Spirit of God is present. The Spirit of truth is present. And then love might have its way and magic might be known in the pattern of life. What is that yoke? The Lord, our Lord of Lords, when he said those words, was referring to a yoke. And of course, we know that yokes often got used with oxen. And recently, we heard that the mind needs to be placed on the altar, cut up into pieces, released on the altar, because it has been unruly. Yolanda actually indicated, why doesn't the magic of love manifest as the magic of life? And he said it's simple, really. He said it's because we refuse the magic of truth. That is the yoke. Because we would rather negotiate with the Lord around his design and his control and refuse to apply our mind in context in this day, while we hanker after the Jesus that we never knew in person, or some of us, the Yolanda that we never knew in person, or in my case, the Martin that I never knew in person, refusing to accept the invitation to come unto me and receive the yoke, receive the Spirit of truth, recognize and acknowledge the Spirit of truth so that the magic might be available in the pattern of life. And isn't it in the pattern of life that we experience so much frustration? As Yolanda said, we end up being a few misfits that manage to eke out a bit of joy here and a bit of joy there in what he describes as the moronic pattern of living of human beings who refuse to accept the focalization of the Spirit of truth. Yes, they want to get a little bit of it. Yes, we want to try a few things we recognize that we should. But in the end, we refuse to recognize the truth. We refuse to recognize it in ourselves. We refuse to recognize it in others. And then we wonder why the magic doesn't happen. And of course, those of us who recognize ourselves as being of the order of Melchizedek, those that recognize themselves as serving with the priesthood and the priestesses in the council of reality, those that recognize themselves as priests and priests of the order of Melchizedek. Ours is to represent God to the people and the people to God, to set the pattern, to let the ordinances of heaven be present in the earth. And in that way, we do not have to have more Ukraines, more Russias, more Koreas, more of all the things that trouble human beings in the pattern of life. But we can do nothing about those things, says Yolanda, unless we have the machinery. I would like to think, David, when we respond to the invitation that comes through you, and I respond to the invitation that comes through my own spirit, I would like to think that we have the beginnings of the machinery to allow the magic of love by reason of the Spirit of truth to begin to be in the pattern of life. All things wonderful is of the pattern of love. All things beautiful because of truth. All things glorious because the union of love and truth manifests in the pattern of life, because I am here. Because you are here. And because you refuse to negotiate with the Lord around the truth of his love. We can be armchair critics of the governments that we see around us. We can be armchair critics of those who appear to be in power with levers of control over resources, over hearts and minds, perhaps. But we have line of sight. It is an accountability principle that we have. We have line of sight. We, as the executive of the Lord, he being the chairman, we are close to him. If something does not work in his company, and he told us what his company was, he said, the earth is mine. The world and all they that dwell therein. This is the company for which we as the executive have responsibility for. He being the chairman. Maybe Vladimir Putin did hear of Martin Exeter. I don't know that he was ever on the mailing list. I don't know that he was ever known as a friend of the emissaries. I don't know whether Zelensky was. I don't know whether Donald Trump was. I don't know whether Joe Biden was. What I do know is many of us in this room, we were at least on the mailing list. We were at least under the ministration of the Spirit. We had line of sight. It is my responsibility. It is my responsibility to set the atmosphere of heaven in the earth according to the design and control, because I accept the yoke. I don't know about the leaders that I look at and maybe criticize in my spare time, not that I have much. But I know what my responsibility is. I think in one of the times that you and I, David, had a chance to speak together, in demonstrating or in articulating what I meant is I often look at it and say, I didn't plant the fungus between my toes when they got there. I know I didn't do that. But because I never washed or dried there properly, I created the conditions for that to happen. My responsibility as the executive of the Lord, as part of the Council of Reality, as part of serving those who are on the Council of Reality, is to ensure that the conditions for that which is a violation of his law, that is rather centered in the black magic triangle of hate, false concepts, and death, is not the environment that I create. The moment that I take the responsibility to orient and align myself with all of you in the creative triangle established in the Lord of Lords, that of love and truth and life, then we begin to have the magic of true government. The magic that sets in the pattern of life the conditions that prevent the violation of the law that prevent the Lord from allowing his kingdom to manifest through me and through you and through us. Because I am not distracted anymore by that which must pass away. In fact, I understand that the world is bathed in the fire of God's love, and it will burn without the truth being in focus. It will burn unless I stand and say, Lord, I will come to you. I will take your yoke upon me. I will adhere to your prescripts of your kingdom. I will let the ordinance of heaven be set in the earth. You will have your way through me, failing which I will burn. And so will you, and so will the world, because the world is bathed in the fire of God's love. And it is not, as Yolanda said, that we so much had a problem with the Lord and his love. We have had a problem with the Lord and his truth, because it is too stifling for me. It doesn't come the way that I would prefer. David doesn't look how I would prefer him to do. Davina doesn't do what I would like her to do. Mary Janet doesn't say what I would like her to say. John Gray doesn't deliver the way that I want him to deliver. And therefore I reject the truth. I reject that which is coming from the Lord through my opinions. This cannot be if we look to establish the pattern that the Lord is asking us to establish, and he's been asking us for a long time. But today, David, you remind me, and you remind us, that the words of Yolanda and the words of Martin being shared in this moment is not a tribute to those who are not here anymore. You remind me that it doesn't matter what they said unless these are my words. Unless we here can say, not that it's Arno's words. Arno doesn't really count. Neither does David Barnes count. The Spirit of the Lord counts as it comes through all of you who make it possible for the temple of the Lord to be established, to be real in this time. So that the words that were spoken by me in 1954 and by you, if you have accepted the yoke, can finally be answered. And it was another invitation. And Yolanda, a few months before, was the voice through which our voice was spoken. Whether we were alive or not is not important. It's still our words. And he said, someday, there are going to be those who come together with one accord in one place to receive the things of God out of heaven into the earth. And it is going to be a glorious experience for those who dare to do it. Many of you here were a part of answering that call in the pattern of victory that was set up by Martin. You go back, as David and I did in some of our conversations, and go and track what happened in world affairs as the pattern strengthened. And as those of you, actually, who were served with him, stood with him and accepted the yoke. Check what happened in world affairs. There was a victory, there was a rising tide that occurred. And a new opportunity was created. And then perhaps it could be argued that some of us forgot. But it's time not to return as the Israelites did. Every time that they were in captivity, they prayed to the Lord, save us, he saves them, then they forget. Then they're back into captivity and he sends someone else, and then they forget. But this is the beauty of the word of the Lord of truth, spoken again in this day, the grace still available that says, come unto me. All is forgiven if you place yourself on the mercy seat in meekness and humility. That is the intelligent choice. Receive the forgiveness, blank page, all that which is good returns to you. Take that yoke upon you, never put it off. And then in this day, by reason of love's commission, glorious life might be experienced abundantly. And here is the Shekinah manifest, because the priests and priestesses of the order of Melchizedek, the council of reality, has truly and truthfully and meekly placed itself on the mercy seat to perceive and receive his mercy. It is us, the priesthood, that must ask for his forgiveness for creating the direct or indirect conditions in our personal and collective lives that allowed for the madness of the mind-made man and the man-made mind to rule the world the way that it has, because we have been asleep, but we are no longer asleep. The Lord's call has been answered. We have come unto him. We will take his yoke and we will not put it off. And when we do this and we lose to the Lord of love by reason of acknowledging the focalization of the Lord of truth here and now, in and through us, then and then only is love's command able to be fulfilled, because we are here. And when we lose to him, then he gives us the victory and we receive it and we accept it. Love's command in this instance is go and sin no more. Go and use all the power, all the force, and all the energy that would be necessary to accomplish anything under the sun from the standpoint of reality. Not in Arno's power, not in Laura's power, not in David's power, not in Eugene's power, not in any of our individual power, in the power that gets released by surrender to the true reality. The temple of light is again established. The Lord of truth is here because you are here. I am here. And in the recognition of that, we come to know and have union with the Lord of love. And then we know it in the patterns in expression of daily life. This is the evidence of the presence of the one who dwells, who then accomplishes the work. Are you with me? Are we now going to do together what must be done in spirit and in truth? The Lord and of heaven and earth is still waiting for that invitation and of his desire to be fulfilled on a consistent and steady, trustworthy basis. Are we going to answer the Lord and say, here I am, Lord, never to leave your temple of light again? Serving in the priesthood, I will remain with one accord in one place, so that your glorious work may be completed. Or will we yet again keep the Lord waiting, saying, well, someday, somewhere, someone, maybe David, maybe Eugene, maybe John Gray, maybe Arno, maybe Mia, maybe Davina, will do the work? Or will it be me? Or will it be you? We should not tempt the Lord of love. and force the hand of the Spirit of truth. But what we do in answering that question, and what you do and I do in answering that question, is yet to be seen in the days to come. But if we do these things, then we have all the power necessary to begin the work in this day, in this cycle, in this new time, and allow the glorious works to be completed. And it will be done if we, the priesthood, and those who serve with them and serve with us, agree on earth as touching these things. I am with you. I am with you. Question is, are you with me? This is the word of the Lord of light, shining in your hearts and shared with you yet again to the glory of God and to the blessing of the children of the earth everywhere. Amen. We have the opportunity, short of the space of a half an hour, but certainly in the time of attunement, to receive that which would come from the body of God, from the bride, in receiving the union and allowing for the magic to emanate from where we are into the world, in our consciousness, through our body, together setting the ordinance of heaven anew. This is the time to let the Lord know that we are with him. This is less the time to say thank you to Arno or to David. This is more the time to share in the pattern of agreement. So I would open the floor, and to start that, I would invite Laura Milan to open that time for us. And then we will allow for the voices of the choir that is in your hearts to be heard.
What a glorious blessing it is to dwell in the house of the Lord with all of you together today. My heart is full, full to brimming. Hearing the very clean and crisp and loud invitation and exhortation extended through David and Arno. Such a clean and simple request. Come unto me and assume my yoke. All I have to do is meet my King. Assume my rightful commission, my rightful place in this body. Surrender to the magic of truth so that the magic of love can be manifest magically through me and invited through others. So this daughter of God accepts the invitation extended through David and again through Arno. I am come unto you. I am here, ready to assume my yoke from you.
Today, a line of agreement has been drawn on earth. David and Arno. A line of agreement between two men, but it includes far more than two men. It includes me as part of the bride prepared for her husband. It includes other men in agreement, and there is an arc of agreement encircling the globe. And I love that it's not come near unto him, it's come near unto me. It's not come near unto her, it's come near unto me. I love that the yoke is the magic of truth, and that we stop negotiating with the Lord for our own preferences and simply let the magic of love come through the magic of truth, unfolding moment by moment to bring forth the magic of life. Thank you. Praise God.
I love that, Marcia. Thank you, Stavina. I'm reminded that the Lord looks upon the heart. He knows I'm with him. I don't need to say anything, he knows. That's an unbreakable bond. Nothing can break that. And I'm also reminded of the promise. I am with you even unto the end of the world. I am with you even unto the end of the world, the man's world. That's a heck of a combination. All these things that we're saying. John Gray was saying something about it's coming because of us. We're bringing this. And that's a neat way of describing this one unified radiation. I'm definitely with him, and he knows it, and we all are. Thank you.
David and Arno, I loved your passion today, because without passion, nothing much really happens. The attitude towards the Lord has been, I can take it or leave it. But that's not the attitude that's going to extend the Spirit of the Lord on earth. I can take it or leave it. No, I can't take it or leave it, because there's passion for the truth. And in passion for the truth, the yoke can be accepted. Without passion for the truth, the yoke could never be accepted. And so it's good to be with you today, to accept the yoke and to remember that it's an easy and it's a light yoke. Light meaning it's radiant. There's radiance in this yoke that we've accepted. And so here's the evidence of the Lord on earth, the radiance of his Spirit. And the radiance of his Spirit offers blessing and enfoldment to the world, and an invitation to also accept this yoke of radiance. What is so difficult about accepting the yoke of radiance? It's the most beautiful yoke there is. And it's lovely to be here right now to extend this invitation to our world. Thank you both. Lovely time together.
It is obvious when any of us speaks, as has been so beautifully done this morning, that we step into that radiance because we have accepted, I am that I am. And it's obvious too when we look at the screen and we see familiar faces every 2 weeks or every month, that we have come on our own, into our own, and let the Christ Spirit have its way daily with us. And I was thinking of the yoke of oxen, and oxen represents the mind, and how necessary that was in the beginning, the design, the control, our classes, our assemblies, all of the design created to let the stillness to come into focus and let the Lord have radiance through us and know that I am that spirit. I'm thankful for this light body that has gathered so consistently over the years and has not forgotten our true commission that the Lord gave us from the very beginning. And we find ourselves speaking, different ones speak every month in this setting, indication that we have accepted that yoke of radiance. It's not, design and control are natural to us. And it's not a narrow path. It is a single eye, but it's the radiance of the Lord's Spirit that each one of us focuses as we step into the light.
As we step into the light, as we have stepped into the light for years now, however much that has happened for us individually. This morning we stepped together, and in the authority of the one I am, we become the one we are. And here we are, the one that is necessary on earth to get this job done. And I think we would all say not a moment too soon. As I sit here bathed in this glorious light, I had the privilege of a vision appearing in front of me. The Lord, with a crown of gold and a robe of light, resplendent in jewels and abundance. He is here now because we are here now. The authority of this process is a very easy yoke when it's actually taken, and it hurts a lot when it's ignored. So we come forth today. Praise the light.
It thrills me from deep down inside to feel the passion of these two men and the beautiful radiance that comes with it in the whole body here. And I recall Martin making comment years ago about the fact that nothing could happen if there weren't the agreement of men. There needs to start with two men in agreement. And we certainly felt that today in a passionate extension of the easy yoke. There was no involvement in this earthly state of chaos and wars and rumors of wars and all that nonsense. There was simply an alignment with the truth of love. And I think we've all felt it. I feel this in the core of our being together in this moment. So I'm most grateful for this radiance, and I'm not laying it on David or Arno as these beautiful men, but it is what they're bringing to focus in all of us. So my praise and thanksgiving to everyone who's offering into this beautiful morning together, or day of some sort. Thank you all.
Thank you, both men, and to the women, and one man who has responded with their own words. I was thinking how stepping into the light is a very specific stepping, and that the radiance of the Lord, which is happening all the time, requires a very deliberate stepping into the line of that radiance, because we are specific beings on earth who are built to be in alignment with that radiance in a very specific way. And it happened, of course, when we first heard these words of these nature, and we put our bodies in the vicinity of these words and this love, this radiance. But as we've all discovered, there is an increasing necessity to be very specifically in alignment with that radiance in a very specific way. And that does relate to the function of the mind taking the yoke. I appreciated that emphasis. And of course, the paradox is that as that yoke, which is how it's experienced when it's not in true alignment, when it is assumed the true yoke, it's light, but it is a constant, consistent alignment that needs to take place. Step out of the light, it's no longer happening through you. And yet, as we've been saying, it's all around. So I appreciate, as Laura said, stepping into the light individually, but now together in this time together that we have, which allows that power to be focused and present in the beautiful body that is actually waiting to wake up. And we each assume our particular places in the body. The foot doesn't decide he doesn't want to be part of the body. And we are seeing an increasing definition in that body as we each find our places in it. So this was a specific time for a specific alignment together, and I really deeply appreciate both men and their words. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. What you've said and offered is so beautiful, as has been what our other friends have offered today as well. I appreciate what you said about how radiance is constant, and how Pamela, you mentioned about the Christ spirit, to allow that always to have its way with us. And these experiences are so wonderful. And Arno and David, thank you so much for being you and saying what you've said and offering what you have given us, and allowing your radiance to inspire unified radiation for us. It is important to stay with the word, the current of life. That is the only game in town. Bill, I think you referred to that in speaking of passion for the word, how nothing happens without that. And you're right. It reminded me of a service Martin gave long ago. I think he spoke about having lust for the Lord. And that is the intensity that is natural. Is there anything more beautiful than the word? I know a lot of attention has been given or drawn lately to the war in Ukraine. And it is tragic how death has occurred there. I think it's natural for there to be attention to a situation like that. And John, I really appreciated what you had to say last week about this. And if I can say a higher perspective, looking at more than just those effects. And we remember that the truth is that there is a cause that results in effects. And so the true position is to be with cause. That's, again, a natural position. It's who we are. It's where we come from. It's our home vibration, so to speak. So I think it was natural to look at what's happening with the war. It's as if, if something happens somewhere in the body, attention is focused there for a time being, but those of us who know that there is more know that perspective allows us to regain a greater vision. And how many people on the planet are not directly involved in the war? There is such a much larger portion of the planet that is not directly affected. And we know that we have a connection with cosmic consciousness. So it must be remembered that, at least by me, and I do, that there is so much more going on, more than the effects happening on the planet. And you could also say, though tragically some lives are being lost in Ukraine, how much more life has been lost through ignoring the Christ spirit, ignoring the word, the radiance that comes from life, the current of life that is ever present now and in every moment, always flowing through us. This is the commandment. How much life can be given, how much more life can be given by knowing oneness with the word. So this is where I'm at right now, remembering true cause and the fullness of life that is known because of that, and which it is my responsibility to allow now and in every moment. Thank you.
There is an opportunity to allow David to conclude from his side before I hand back over to Steve. David, over to you. We probably have about 2 minutes if we want to be really impeccable. And so,
might I speak a
thank
word
you.
before going over to David?
100%.
Yeah. I so appreciate what you, Arno, and David have spoken. And I am 100% in agreement in the power of it, the authority of it, the reality of it. We part the veil and step into the breach of our time, of this day, and speak the word. The words that Yolanda spoke in 1954, they are my words. The words that Martin spoke in 1987, 88, those are my words. And until those are my words, our words, we have not finished our job. And we are here to finish our job. Arno, you spoke about having line of sight as executives of the Lord and therefore being accountable and responsible. We have not only line of sight, we have line of fused identity in the Lord. We have that. And so much greater is the accountability and responsibility as a result. So while many things have happened in these 20, 30 years, none of it matters. What matters is now that we step into the breach as Martin stepped into the breach in 1954, and in fact, earlier, as Yolanda stepped into the breach, as our Lord stepped into the breach of his time 2,000 years ago. Now we step into the breach. 20, 30 years of whatever happened evaporate as we step into the breach now and speak the word. We are of one fused identity in the Lord, and time disappears, the veil parts, if we step in and speak the word now, and we accept, and as you said, Arno, never take the yoke off again. Thank you so much. I am in agreement with you.
Thank you, Eugen. David?
David, you're muted.
There's been a line from Yolanda running through my heart over the last few weeks, spoken by him in the late 30s. He said, "The seemingly impossible has been accomplished," referring to the drawing together of the cells of the Christ body in the womb of the mother, leading to the eventual birth of that body and the coming alive of that body and gradually stepping into action as it was parented so beautifully through Martin. I think in some measure, the same words can be spoken today. The seemingly impossible has been accomplished relative to the reemergence of this focus of presence that we can feel through the words that we shared today, and a consciousness of the reforming core of the archangelic body that is sufficient to this day. Not to overstate this, but the fact is something has emerged in a brand new way in recent months, and we're acknowledging it now. This is indication of the fact that there is more work for this body to do. Of course, not just these who are gathered, but all of us around the world. There's more to coalesce into oneness. There's more to be assumed as each individual steps into the breach. And there will be more specific gatherings required of angels to bring together those who have specific responsibilities relative to the vibrational core of the body of mankind. How that'll come about, when it will, and who will be drawn together in these times, we don't know, but we know that the Lord draws his angels together to accomplish specific works in the world. And this is us, this is you, this is me. And central to that message, wherever we gather, whenever we do, will be, "Come near unto me," the angel, the word spoken through the heart and the soul of this body. "Come near unto me, this man," and through this man, draw near to the Lord, because the Lord has a body on earth. Come near to the body of the archangel on earth and find rest unto your souls and discover, learn of me. And so this emphasizes the importance of our radiation work now from within the Temple of Light and in all the days to come. And I'm so thankful for what we shared. And Arno, I love you, brother. I love your words. And I look forward to transcribing them so that we can share them further afield. Thank you, Arno.
Thank you, David. The kingdom of heaven is indeed at hand, perhaps more today than it was yesterday. I'm going to change that. More today, not perhaps, more today, more in this hour than it was yesterday. Thank you, David. And as long as we agree that we are those instruments through which that fulfillment can come, and we agree on earth as touching these things as Eugen just did, then we're going to have more of that which feels impossible, indeed being possible. This is the word of the Lord, and we leave it to you, Steve, to close. Thank you.
What power we share today. Only silence and continuing in the rhythms of light that allow for us to continue in our generative ways. And the intensity we share during these times is intense. The pressure of love is calling. And we feel that, is it I that needs to come forth now to speak in this time? But really the point is that I coming forth in our daily lives, offering what we need to provide from the core, and I love, to the periphery. There's been a lot said today and a lot felt. Let's hold it. Let's know the implications for ourselves, and let's continue in the rhythms of light. Our next Temple of Light service will be in April 17th, and Shirley will be leading our time. We look forward to that, Shirley. And Robert, you have some music for us?